that really was a support. But in terms of mentoring, that inspiration thing, there were people. I worked for 10 years at the National Ballet School in Toronto as a classroom teacher. And one of my colleagues there, Mavis Staines, who's now the director of the school, a very remarkable woman. She was a wonderful dancer who, because of a serious back injury, had to leave dancing, and then she started teaching at school. And she was just an amazing person, and she's a peer, but I really looked up to her because there was just an incredible creativity and strength in her, and just a fascinating person, and incredibly intelligent, and she just really inspired me. And we did a lot of work there together in terms of developing a teaching approach that worked more effectively with children, and because that was a lot my background, and
yes.
the way ballet used to be taught was destructive to people's self-esteem. So we worked a lot on changing that, and she just really inspired me a lot. And as she became the director of the school, she was a young woman at the time, and she was coming from a place of not having been a leader in any sense, and then had to take over this national school, and one of 3 in the world that actually trains children to become professional dancers, classical dancers, while giving them an education. So, I mean, it's a very important school, and to watch her move into that role, and how she had to take on all these public presentations, and just watching her transform was something that then became a kind of model for me when I had to take on a leadership role, because I've never thought of myself really as a leader. I don't think I am naturally a leader, and I had to learn that. And so she was very inspiring for me with that. And then when I was in St. Catharines, I was incredibly fortunate to have a department head by the name of Kate Mullane, who was the one who hired me to teach that entrepreneurship course. And it was her vision and her baby, but she gave it to me 100%. She was a wonderful person to work with, because she was the kind of person who let her staff do everything that they could think of, gave you full reign, except when I had some of my trades guys who were in my program put an air conditioning unit in, which contravened all union laws in the school, and we had to tear it out, and that wasn't good. But mostly she gave me total free reign to do what I wanted to do. And she was really inspiring to me. Again, she was very creative. But the thing about Kate that I loved, and that really changed a lot of how I was she was a person who did things immediately. So I would be sitting like this talking to her. I say, Kate, I have this idea. I think we could do this in the class. She'd, well, let's just see about that. And she'd pick up the phone and she'd call immediately to someone to get some information. And so that I learned to, because that is not my style, and I learned to do things more immediately. And it's funny because sometimes in Sudbury here, I'll talk to people and they'll say, you're such an action-oriented person, and you always do things and you get things done. And it's so completely not my nature. I'm absolutely a person who would sit in a chair all day and read a book and enjoy the sunshine and don't have to do anything. I love to think of ideas. I have no innate desire to implement them.
Well, you've learned that lesson well.
So I had to learn that from her, yeah.
Now, your business has changed quite a bit since you started, and, you know, bearing in mind that this was not what you had planned to do all your life, why do you continue to plug away at this and develop Learning Initiative to what it is today?
I ask myself that probably several times a month. Less now than maybe in the 90s, but it's still a regular question. I think just, it's kind of like a relationship. Why do you stay in a relationship? It could be partly because it's effort to get out of it, to go look for something else. I mean, I think that's one reason why people stay in a relationship, or why they stay with a job, which is the same thing, why I stay with my company. But that's not really the main thing. I think the main reason why people stay in a relationship is because they can continue to grow, and they continue to learn more about themselves, and it's rewarding, satisfying, and fun. And that's why I stay at Learning Initiative. I mean, that's why I say stay at it, because it feels like it's a little bit independent of me, but why I continue to want it to exist and to give it life and to keep it growing is because I'm learning while I'm there. I'm growing. I get a chance to express myself. We can take the company in any direction that people want to do things. I like that freedom, and it's fun.
Your company is very fluid, isn't it? It's not the same structure as it was a number of years ago when I first met you.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by structure, because I think it is pretty much the same. We just keep doing different, we do different things. If we get
I guess
interested
that's
in
part of
something.
the evolution of...
Yeah, if we get interested in something, we do it. But we've done, for instance, entrepreneurial development from day one. And I think I see fewer changes in Learning Initiative than sometimes outsiders, because it's pretty much always becoming what I imagined.
Okay.
So from the beginning, I saw us having, let's say, different kinds of programs and helping people in different ways, and not just doing the entrepreneurship. But I had to start somewhere, so I started with one focus, and now bit by bit I've added in other things that are of interest to me. But I kind of imagined it always that way, and with lots of staff. And yes, it's grown, and now we have it. But to me, it sort of looks like, yeah, I always saw that. I look around, that's how I always pictured it. People come in, oh, look at all the changes.
And that's probably a very wise way to do it. If you know where you're going, then it's easier to get there in as straight a line as possible, instead of...
Although, it's
going off
true,
the
but
beaten
what we
path.
found is the meandering is a lot of the fun of it. I was talking about that staff development day we had. That was also very interesting, and actually changed a lot of how I'm starting to teach things in terms of business and strategic planning. Because the question I put to the staff was, tell the story of how you got to be here, how you ended up here. And we went around the table, and everybody told their story, sort of like I told you at the beginning a little bit of the story of how I ended up here at Learning Initiative. And they told their stories, and nobody had taken a direct path. Nobody had thought this is what they wanted to do, just like it wasn't what I thought I wanted to do initially. And everybody had done one thing, and that had led to something else, and that had opened a door here, and that had caused them to meet this person. And there's a way, I think, of running your business that is open to that kind of opportunity and something happening. And I know there's lots of members of the audience where they've also done a similar thing with their businesses. And it doesn't mean you don't have a vision, or that you can imagine ways it could be good and you'd enjoy it, but it doesn't have to be so finely laid out with details. And I don't think the path is necessarily a straight path, but you can discover things.
Have you seen any trends that have developed, businesses that at one point, maybe 10 years ago, everyone wanted to get into, and some succeeded, some didn't, or anything that you can sort of track as the type of business that someone thinks they would like to do, but you know through history that it's not likely to be a very successful end result?
Gift baskets.
Gift baskets are not good businesses to get into?
Well, it's just a lot of people want to do them, but it's a pretty tough go in Sudbury. I'm not going to say in the right mix, in the right way. As a part of a business, it could be fine, but just a business, it was a trend. It was popular for a while. There were businesses that just offered gift baskets, but when people want to do that, that's a bit of a tough sell around here. The hardest kind of business, though, really,